to think about marketing messages, it's really useful to think about how buyers think. So imagine you're a buyer in a $50 million company. There's 9 people who can give you a procurement request. The 3 C-level people, all 4 department heads, head of R&D, head of marketing, are all authorized to give you a procurement request for supplies, office supplies, raw materials, consultants, trainers, everything. And your job is to go get the stuff. So everybody got the idea on what a buyer does? And as a head of buying, the purchasing, you've got these 3 purchasing managers working for you. And they're actively getting the stuff for the company. By the way, what will get the buyer fired the fastest? Paying a little bit too much? No. What will get a buyer fired the fastest?
Taking kickbacks?
Yes.
Running out.
Where's my cards?
Over inventory?
No?
Or quality decision making?
Yeah, not getting the right stuff to support the internal people in the company who have to support the customers. So not getting the right stuff will in fact get you fired as the buyer. So let's think about the mentality of a buyer. Let's assume you're the buyer and one of your long-term vendors has gone out of business, got bought, closed the doors, whatever happened, and now you need to replace that vendor or subcontractor. So everybody got the idea? And so let's just say the people working for you have identified, they went on the internet, looked around, and they've come back and they've got 4 potential subcontractors that do this particular job, say drywall. And now we got to choose which one. Who's going to be our new subcontractor? So what would be the first issue that the buyer would have? What's their first concern as they're looking at these 4 subcontractors?
Qualification.
Yeah, can they really do the job? Do they have the right experience? Because again, for all buyers, the main thing for them is avoiding risk. Because they know if they bring on a drywall contractor that does a couple of jobs and then mold, you got a bunch of mold and got all that sort of stuff, the buyer could actually get fired. So that risk is always the first thing the buyer wants to reduce. Get suppliers who really have the reputation and experience to do the job. Fair enough? Everybody agree? What would be the second concern for most buyers? So let's say now if those 4 drywall contractors were down to 3. So 3 we're real confident in. Now, how do we go for those? How do we choose one of those 3?
Competitive pricing.
It's usually called competitive pricing, business case analysis, return on investment. So in other words, back to this whole area of disruptive and challenger sale thinking. Which of these 3 vendors really has the latest technology, can really do the job faster, can do the job with better materials, can do the job less expensively? So anytime one of these 3 vendors has got a much better story from a monetary ROI business case study, that's always going to beat out the other ones, isn't it? So now we're down to 2. We got these 2 great drywall contractors, great experience. They both got great new technology. They got better productivity than almost anybody else. They're kind of tied for first. So what's the third now concern for buyers?
Reliability.
Can they get the job done?
Well, remember, the whole thing, the first thing for them was, can they get the job done? Do they have the experience? Can we rely on them? So all that trustworthiness, done it before, all that's fine in your mind. Both of them have the latest technology for installing drywall. They make huge purchases from these big manufacturers, so they got the best prices, blah, blah, blah. So, but now we're down to 2, and they're both the same. How do we choose?
Which salesman you like?
Say it again?
Which salesman you like better or you trust more?
Actually, that's always going to win if everybody's tied all the way down, right? Relationships will win.
But we're down to 2.
It's true.
Maybe their schedule.
That was all about the first thing. Reliability, can they do it, done it before, reputation, all that's been with your first concern. And actually in the Dale Carnegie training, they call it the killer argument, done it before. So the last question for buyers is, which one should I go with? Because in many cases, buyers have to justify which one they chose to their boss. And so their last question is, how do I choose between these two equally competent vendors? And that is typically used by great salespeople. They're called ghosting discriminators, which allow us to point out the weakness of the competition without mentioning the competition. So now, if you think about marketing people and the marketing messages they come up with, do they just make them up for fun? Obviously not. Marketing messages are targeted to those three concerns for buyers.